There are no lasting friendships, only lasting interests. For Russian oligarchs, that balance of power has shattered. In 2025, Russia faces an exodus of wealth unlike any other, with elites stashing fortunes abroad while insiders raid the nation's golden vaults at home. What if I told you that the very tycoons backed by Vladimir Putin are abandoning ship like rats, fueling a crisis that could drown the country? Imagine the hiss of jets' engines at dusk, the acrid scent of burning rubles in the air, the cold grip of fear clutching every decision. That's the Russia of today, a nation torn apart by greed and survival instincts, where trust evaporates faster than value in the currency market. Let's revisit the numbers, raw and unrelenting, from the Russian central bank, hidden until now. In a single month, elites funneled an unprecedented $650 million to offshore brokers. Think of it not as spare change, but as the pinnacle of smart money, wielded by insiders who golf with generals and predict tomorrows. Higher than the panic spikes of December 2023 or October 2022, this exodus screams doubt. They've lost faith in victory or recovery. How will the bank's desperate clamps on the ruble stop the tide, when lowering rates risks riots in the streets or a banking meltdown echoing 1998? The central bank's grip on the ruble has twisted into a cage, halting mass flight. Officially, it's policy, but unofficially, a barricade against defection. Kremlin eyes widen in terror at $650 million vanishing monthly, forecasting $1 billion soon after, then double, shattering stability. Where do these trillions funnel? Taunting old havens like London or New York as rigged traps? Safe havens have shifted south and east, to sun-soaked escapes immune to Western claws. Turkey emerges first. Istanbul and Antalya, once sunny resorts, now fortresses for Russian riches. Picture Roman Abramovich, expelled from Britain's spotlight, dockling his superyachts off Bodrum and Marmaris, their sleek hulls whispering through turquoise waves, shielded from European seizures. Beneath a sky heavy with uncertain skies, he maneuvers backdoor talks, his billions basking in Anatolian shadow. Is this the real diplomacy, cloaked in luxury and exile? Dubai looms larger, dubbed Dubai Grad, a glittering desert mirage untouched by sanctions, where Russian echoes permeate malls and marinas. Andreas Melnichenko, coal baron extraordinaire, evaded the snatch of his $600 million yacht by shifting empires to the UAE, feeling the sand's gritty embrace. Vagit Alekperov, Lukoil titan, pilots fleets from gleaming towers there, the desert wind carrying hints of perfumed deals and hidden gains. Could this oasis hide crumbling empires, or spark turmoil when loyalties snap? Central Asia lurks as the final conduit, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan laundering tunnels through Astana and Tashkent. Companies relocate headquarters to dodge strangling rules, gliding under radar like shadows across steppes. Vladimir Putin rallies for a vast Russia on the front, yet his gilded circle bled wealth to these directions, undermining every vow. What haunts the trap tycoons, barred from flight by wrath or lists? For those stranded, the state's golden core beckons, a plunder veiled as trade. Empires rise on armies, endure on gold, that irreplaceable shield against chaos. Putin hoarded 405 tons in the National Welfare Fund post-invasion, but by November 2025, just 173 remain, half the treasure vanished in overleaf years. Scent of corrosion lingers as insiders buy this booty, not London markets or New York vaults, but through Kremlin favor. Who pockets pure conquest while citizens clutch devalued slips, dooming futures to dust? These deals mask robbery, exchange crumbling rubles for gleaming gold, arming insiders as value crumbles. Imagine a sinking ship where captains trade lifeboats for valuables, abandoning decks to ransack holds. When storms pass, masses inherit ashes, elites clutch global gold's weight. As rivals like China hoard riches and the US reign supreme, why gamble Russia's destiny for fleeting reign? China amasses record gold, fortifying against trade conflicts, while America's 8,133 tons dominate. Russia's stripping leaves it vulnerable, a pawn to Beijing's sway, trading sovereignty for handouts and energy and crude. Elites arm against threats. Here, betrayal dismantles defenses. Asset seizures hit $50 billion, penance for defectors, yet clandestine escapes surge via crypto webs and Dubai fronts, fear-mocking locks. What shocking turn flipped protectors to prisoners? Witness Chelyabinsk airport chaos, a $50 million Bombardier Challenger jet revving on the tarmac. Konstantin Strukov, gold mogul of Norilsk Nickel, poised for Turkish skies. Engines roar, anticipation builds, until black vans swarm. Agents snatch him, confiscating passports and shares. Putin's stark reminder, money flees, but slam you stay. Amid underground flows and street-level battles, signals the final fracture, where survival triumphs over throne. As the ruble weakens further, the danger intensifies. Experts warn that if the currency drops even more, the total could surge to $1 billion next month, then double again. Such a tide of capital outflow threatens to send the entire banking system into chaos, risking a repeat of the 1998 financial disaster. But where are these massive sums heading? For Russia's oligarchs, the definition of a safe haven has drastically shifted. Once comfortable in London's foggy streets or New York's towering financial centers, they now view these places as traps. Their true compass points south and east towards a new series of hideouts. First stop, Turkey. No longer just a holiday paradise, Istanbul and Antalya have transformed into shiny vaults for Russian wealth. Roman Abramovich, once Britain's most recognized Russian, anchors his billion-dollar superyachts in Turkish waters, away from European seizures. Amid backdoor dealings in Istanbul, he protects his fortune from confiscation, steering clear of the collapsing system. Next up, Dubai. Now known as Dubai Grad, this city is a haven surrounded by luxury. Its strict sanctions don't reach here. Russian is the city's unofficial second tongue. Big names like Andrei Melnichenko, Russia's coal and fertilizer magnate, have already moved assets here. As Europe attempted to seize his $600 million yacht, he transferred his wealth to the United Arab Emirates, shielding it from legal claws. Similarly, energy magnate Vagit Alekperov has shifted his fleets and finances to Dubai's safe harbor. And the escape route doesn't end there, Central Asia. Russia's top companies are shifting headquarters to Astana and Tashkent. These cities serve as launderers of wealth, quietly transferring millions to Western banks, evading sanctions and keeping their riches out of reach. The picture emerges clearly: the flight of capital is relentless, leaving a trail of shadows across borders. The concept of safety has evaporated for the Russian elite. Their wealth isn't just moving, it's escaping entirely, while the country's future hangs in the balance. What happens when this exodus continues? Could Russia's financial armor collapse completely, leaving the nation vulnerable to global upheavals? The stakes have never been higher. Picture this: as jets roar off to exotic hideouts loaded with stolen wealth, what twisted game are the exiled elites playing to bleed Russia's golden veins dry? This provocative question shocks you into the reality of a crumbling empire, where trust is a myth and fortunes are weapons in a silent war raging in forbidden shadows. In our previous chapter, we uncovered how Russian oligarchs are redirecting billions to secure sanctuaries in Turkey and Dubai, while using Central Asian hubs like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan as shadowy conduits for smuggling capital west and evading bans. While Vladimir Putin rallies troops in the West, vowing to expand Russia's glory, the elite he nurtured are betraying him, sucking out the nation's lifeblood, draining treasures, growth potential, and economic vitality southward and eastward. Yet, escape isn't an option for all. Some moguls remain trapped inside Russia, shackled by blacklist bans or trembling at the thought of provoking Putin's fury. What lengths will they go to survive? Idle they sit not. They exact revenge for their confinement by raiding the state's holiest relic. Empires rose on spears, but endured on gleaming gold. Unlike fiat currencies like the dollar or euro, gold isn't a conjured note, it's the unyielding shield of independence, the lone asset that endures when global systems collapse, the SWIFT network vanishes, and digital veins sever. For years, Putin hoarded gold as a fortress against unchecked dollar dominance, a ultimate safeguard. But now, the Kremlin itself shreds that shield. Peer into the stark figures, witness the raw panic. At war's dawn, Russia's National Welfare Fund clutched 405 tons of liquid gold, ready for instant transaction. By November 2025, reserves plummeted to 173 tons, a staggering 57% wipeout in mere years. To whom did this gleaming hoard vanish? Not London exchanges, barred. Not New York's vaults, forbidden. It slipped away in clandestine internal deals. The Kremlin offloaded to domestic buyers. Who snapped it up? A struggling Russian educator? With meager pay, they scrape by without a gram. A mill laborer? They struggle for basics like margarine. No, this gold flows to corrupt insiders, oligarchs and Kremlin-tied banks, bloated on government tenders. It's history's grandest illicit swap and richest shuffle. Understand the devious dance. These tycoons proffer devaluing rubles, poised to crumple into junk. The state craves them for battle costs. In exchange, it parcels out state coffers pure gold. No fair bargain, this is a savage snare, a spree of ruin. Like a sinking vessel, the captain peddles lifeboat spots not to the crew or stewards, but to luxury guests who pilfer the ship's treasures. What chaos erupts when the conflict ends or the regime crumbles? The populace inherits inflated rags for wages. The elite? Tons of eternal gold, prized worldwide. In this gamble to cling to power a handful more weeks, Putin surrenders Russia's future autonomy to these sly predators. As the dust settles on this betrayal, is the storm truly brewing in the air, with unspeakable revelations lurking just beyond the horizon? In the realm of plundered prosperity, oligarchs and shady Kremlin-linked banks, fattened on government deals, are orchestrating the biggest insider swap of wealth ever seen. This is unprecedented insider dealing and asset shuffling on a colossal scale. So, how does this shadowy system really operate? Deep in the capital's hidden chambers, the air thick with whispers of desperation, oligarchs exchange their fading rubles, crumpled paper that crumbles like sand between fingers, threatening to vanish into dust at any moment, for solid gold from the nation's guarded vaults. Do these elites feel the metallic chill against their skin as they clasp their gleaming rewards? The state scavenges every ruble, desperate to fuel endless battles, voices echoing in corridors reeking of stale smoke and ambition. It's no mere bargain. Hear the creak of betrayal as this unfolds? A vicious snare, a calculated theft where the mighty grab what they can while the ship lists toward oblivion. Imagine the captain, eyes wide with panic, hawking spots on the lifeboats to the wealthiest passengers. They hoard the vessel's treasures, leaving the crew adrift in stormy seas. And when the dust settles, after the fighting fades or power crumbles, what remains for ordinary Russians? They clutch worthless rubles, tasting the bitterness of unpaid toil, while the elite wield tons of gold, impervious and eternal, shimmering like forbidden stars they can cash in anywhere. Putin, clutching his throne, scatters Russia's tomorrow to these few fat cats, buying mere extra breaths for his grip. But glance at the world's shifting sands. China's rivals forge ahead with diametrically opposed tactics. Feel the weight of inevitability? Beijing unleashes history's grandest gold binge, overflowing vaults in just 18 months. Metal clinking into shelves, a fortress against impending throttles from the West. Why this frenzy? In the heat of a Taiwan storm or full-blown clashes, they armor financial freedom, hoarding reserves that gleam with untouchable might. Across the ocean, the U.S. stands as unchallenged master, commanding a staggering 8,133 tons of gold, a mountain of permanence against any quake. Stripped of its own reserves, Russia now cowers, naked before global tempests, no shield left. As China's coffers bulge with gleaming power, Russia's pitiful dismantling hands Beijing the upper hand like never before. Moscow drifts into vassaldom, trading sovereignty for scraps of energy and raw stuff, serving Beijing on a silver platter. In this stark contrast, Russia gifts its crown jewels to domestic raiders even as foes sharpen their blades. The rarement unconventional twist? This very plundering exposes Russia's fatal flaw: it builds no bonds, just fleeting gains, now fracturing in spectacular disarray. Will the so-called Allies' greed finally bury the empire beneath an avalanche of yellow metal? As superpowers like China stockpile gold to shield against global threats, building their reserves to over 8,133 tons in the U.S. alone, Russia strips away its own defenses, handing Beijing ironclad control over Moscow's fate. The nation now bows as a vassal, trading raw energy for survival, its financial independence shattered. What if the Kremlin's iron fist couldn't even stop one billionaire from fleeing in broad daylight? Imagine the roar of jet engines humming on a foggy runway, the sharp scent of aviation fuel cutting through the chill Chelyabinsk air, a scene straight from a thriller, but all too real. Russia dreams of standing tall among giants, yet it's handing its golden lifeline to thieves in its own halls. Rivals arm with vaults bursting at the seams. China hoards bars like a dragon guarding treasure, prepping for storms over Taiwan or clashes with the West. America sits unchallenged, its 8,133 tons gleaming as the world's financial crown. But in Moscow? The looting spirals wild. Capital flees like rats from a blaze. The Kremlin scrambles, seizing about $50 billion in private holdings so far. The grabs speed up, month by month. It's no mere money grab. No. This screams deep fear, doubt in their guards, in the tycoon's shaky vows. Rhetorical punch, how long before the palace walls crack from within? Picture the tension, hearts pounding in marble halls where whispers echo like ghosts. Flashback now, remember the old days, pre-war gleam? Golden reserves piled high, 405 tons liquid and ready, a fortress against dollar storms. Sensory rush, cool metal touch in a vault's dim light. Faint metallic tang in the air, security boots thudding softly. Putin's dream insurance, anti-dollar shield. Gone now, poof, in 3 years flat. Back to the chaos. This plunder's out of hand. Even the bosses lose their grip. To prove it, zoom in on one raw moment. Scene, Chelyabinsk Airport, heart of Russia's gritty factories. Dawn breaks cold, frost-biting skin. A sleek bombardier private jet, worth $50 million, sits poised. Engines whine low, vibrating the tarmac. Destination? Turkey's sunlit shores. Aboard? No tourist. It's Konstantin Strukov, billionaire baron, ruler of Ural-Zoloto, Russia's third biggest gold miner. A true gold lord, his empire shines with state-backed deals. He boards, leather seats creaking under him, passport clutched tight. Hope flickers, escape the sinking ship he sees coming. But takeoff? Denied. Black minivans screeching, tires smoking on wet pavement. Federal agents swarm, boots stomping metal stairs. They board fast, voices sharp in the cabin's hush. Strukov's yanked down, confusion twisting his face. Passport snatched, gone. That's just the start. Days later? Boom. Shares in 11 firms frozen. Billion-dollar empire seized. Why? He bolted too soon. Spotted the doom. Putin's broadcast, a chilling warning to the circle. Take your cash out, fine. But you? Stuck. Your fortunes, your lives, chained to this throne. Heart races, will loyalty hold, or snap like brittle ice? Yet these clamps? They don't halt the exodus. They burrow it deeper, shadows lengthening. No more suitcases bulging at banks. Now. Cryptocurrencies zip unseen, digital ghosts. Shell firms in Dubai's glitzy towers hide trails. Offshore webs twist like mazes, funds vanishing east. Putin slams the front gate. They slip out back doors, vents, any crack. Fear? It's the real boss now, outmuscling blind oaths. Sensory sting, imagine the oligarchs sweat in boardrooms, keyboards clicking frantic in neon-lit nights, the bitter coffee taste of endless schemes. Twist hits, what if this underground rush topples the whole game? The elite plot above, but below, the real war brews for scraps. That $650 million they siphon? It's bread ripped from families' plates. Russia festers inside, data screams it. War funds choke civilian life. Small business aid slashed 43% in early 2025. Factories echo empty, workers' hands idle and cold. Cliffhanger, as the poor claw for tomorrow, one desperate soul's plan unfolds, could it spark the spark that burns it all? While the elite admire their gold and luxury jets, the everyday person in Russia faces a brutal battle for survival. The staggering $650 million that vanished from the hands of the wealthy was siphoned right from the Russian people's daily lives. Behind closed doors, the economy isn't just faltering, it's decaying from within. Putin's decision to cut off resources to everyday citizens is unmistakable. In the first quarter of 2025 alone, subsidies for small and medium-sized businesses shrank by 43%. The consequences are devastating. Nearly 100,000 small shops, bakeries, repair stores, boutique outlets shuttered their doors forever. The quiet hum of daily life has been replaced by an unsettling silence. By mid-year, over 200 car dealerships have collapsed. The typical Russian middle-class family can now barely afford a car, with the average cost soaring past 3.43 million rubles, the highest figure ever recorded. Prices won't drop, they're climbing higher, squeezing out the average buyer. Only 9% of car owners can now replace vehicles that are 3 to 7 years old, leaving most on roads crammed with aging, unreliable vehicles. The typical car on Russian streets is now older, dilapidated, a relic from a country's past reminiscent of Cuba after the embargo, or the final days of the Soviet Union. If this trend persists, Russia's entire vehicle fleet could resemble those bleak, outdated lines within just a few years. Meanwhile, the food crisis worsens. In July, pork prices surged by 30% year-over-year. April brought an astonishing 285% spike in potato prices, nearly triple what it was the previous year. These sharp, uncontrollable increases hit hard in homes across the nation, shattering the illusion of stability the regime tried to sell. The Kremlin's propaganda that the war won't touch you rings hollow when families are struggling to buy potatoes and pork. The impact on everyday life is visceral, families crippled by soaring food costs, unable to sustain their basic needs, while the rich escape to safety, leaving the rest to fend for themselves. This stark division exposes the fragile, crumbling foundation of Putin's Russia, a country on the brink, where the fight for survival is now everyone's reality. In the shadows of shifting alliances, where loyalties fade like morning mist, Russian oligarchs face a brutal reality: interests reign supreme, not friendships. Their carefully crafted world of wealth has shattered. In 2025, Russia grapples with its biggest capital exodus and state heist ever seen. Some elites dash with fortunes to Turkey and Dubai. Others, trapped, plunder the nation's last stronghold, its gold stashes. This is the fractured Russia of now. Picture the crash of wallets in family kitchens across the land. These wild price hikes for essentials, soaring sky-high, aren't just numbers on a screen. They crush the dreams of everyday folks, shattering the Kremlin's hollow vows of untouched lives amidst war. Feel the chill of sweat-soaked foreheads as budgets crack under potato costs leaping 285% overnight. Has Putin turned his back on the masses? Can a leader survive without their trust? The bite of hunger grows sharper than bomb echoes. Smell the stale fear in empty grocery aisles, where shelves groan under fading goods. Shocking twist: what if this isn't mere mismanagement? It's a betrayal deeper than battlefield treachery. Moscow's cook stats mask the rot, but truth bleeds through. The economy shrivels, government outlays plunge. The central bank's grips slip on runaway inflation, no lifeline remains. Who feels it most? This fiscal storm hits harder than any frontline loss, exposing the regime's facade as paper-thin. The average worker's rhythm, waking to wage counts just for bread, grinds to a halt. A gaping abyss yawns, elites hoarding gold above, people scraping for scraps below. The unspoken pact-binding society phrase, undone. Putin's safety net evaporates at checkout counters in shuttered shops. Will the facade hold? Or crumble, revealing the void? Touch the rough edges of unpaid bills piling like rough logs. Hear the distant rumble of discontent, a storm brewing. Threading together these ragged strands, a horrific vision unfolds. Russia today? Not a nation thriving, but an empire unraveling, treated like a failing corporation headed for the fires. Its executives, the oligarchs and insiders, sense the rotten bones and swaying ceilings. They grab the vault's last treasures and the gold chambers, slipping out unseen exits. The workforce, the people, toil in the inferno, marching toward doom's edge, wages ghostly promises. Does this echo the cries of forgotten souls? Smell the acrid smoke of burning ambitions. Feel the heat prickling skin as hope dwindles. Yet, Putin boasts a mighty Russia, supposedly humbling the West. Hypocrisy exposed. He hurls the country into isolation's icy grip, poverty's relentless vice, the weakest in modern times. Stripping gold via insider deals? No policy. It's a grim farewell rite. Unthinkable betrayal, the elites flee like rats. So, what fate awaits Putin? His throne leaned on a fragile balance, he fed the elite wealth, buying their fealty. That bond shatters now. Without them, the emperor stands naked. Fear's cold fingers tighten. Hear the whisper of alliances crumbling. Who will fall first? The regime or the dream of dominance? The night's silence chills the bone. Only time unveils the horror. In the shadow of shifting fortunes, Vladimir Putin stands alone, a once-iron leader crumbling under the weight of betrayal. His grip on power, once forged through alliances of wealth and loyalty, has fractured. The elite he enriched now flee, clutching stolen treasures as his regime teeters. Empty coffers echo with hollow promises, leaving millions hungry. Nuclear arsenals may loom, but without allies or gold, his downfall is inevitable. As battles rage, what emerges from the fog? A hollowed-out nation, its currency worthless, treasury plundered, futures snatched by greedy hands. His mark? Not triumph, but a colossal theft and utter isolation that reverberates forever. Imagine the bitter sting of defeat on the tongue, a leader stripped of supporters, his vaults barren, unable to nurture his starving masses. Nuclear buttons glitter, yet they can't shield against the storm. When gunfire fades and mist lifts, peering through the ruins reveals a desolate republic, currency like ash in the wind, coffers ransacked, destiny pilfered by those who once knelt. Putin's echo won't be conquest, it'll be the grand robbery, a vast solitude trapping him in history's grip. As winds howl through abandoned palaces, whispers of loss linger, a shocking truth, even the mightiest fall when trust shatters. Picture the tremors of a sinking ship, the captain, once supreme, now adrift on waves of distrust. His golden promises melted away by those he empowered. The deck creaks under forsaken footprints, the air thick with the scent of impending doom. No fleets or missiles can moor this vessel. When tides subside and clarity dawns, the panorama unfolds, shattered banks, feudal notes fluttering in despair, looted reserves whispering theft, a purloined tomorrow clutching the throats of the weak. Putin's tale? No glory parade, but the epic heist of a nation's soul, leaving him stranded in a sea of regret. Can one man outlast the tide of treachery? Feel the icy chill of ultimatum, a ruler forsaken by the powerful, his funds vaporized, scraps for the people like dry bread on cracked plates. The roar of jets fades, isolation bites deep. Swords gleam, but loyalty's warmth is gone. After the clash ends and dust settles, the stark reality glares, impoverished lands, monies eroded to dust, vaults emptied by the bold, a future rested in gilded chains. His footprint? Endless plunder, profound emptiness echoing through halls once bustling. The twist? Success breeds hubris, and when the rich revolt, even empires collapse in silence.